The beginning of this episode was actually kicking ass. Pica versus Luffy, gear second, let's go. It was looking pretty sweet in the beginning of this episode, but as the episode progressed, it was like, ooh, it started off with fire, and little by little it started raining, and the fire was being put out. Let's go. So while it was a little bit slow, ultimately the beginning of this episode, it just really felt like an awesome build-up and setup for a really cool fight. You have the stone statue, Pica looking fucking beast ready to go, and then Luffy trying to go in with gear second. I was like, this is looking like a pretty cool fight setting up. So I was like, hell fucking yeah. But they kind of cut away from that after a while, and I was like, we started off so good. This episode was looking so kick-ass with Pica and Luffy and everything, and then it just kind of went to like other comedic stuff, and I was like, please go back to that. A lot of this episode was occupied by the Franky versus Senor Pink stuff, and while it's funny, ultimately, a lot of times I felt as though with this episode and in this arc, is not only the anime, I felt like that fight, it was more so comedic relief instead of something that I was hoping for, like, you know, Franky having his first real serious hardcore fight in New World, and it was just like, you got some reused jokes with Senor Pink ripping off the bra and wiping his mouth, and while still Senor Pink is manly as fuck, for the win all the way. Ultimately, it's like we've seen it before, the jokes and everything. It's kind of like they're rehashing it at this point. And yeah, he's beast, but show some new shit or get the fuck out, if you know what I'm saying. And some of it I was just like, where Franky is like on fire and with his hair and everything. I'll be honest with you, I really wish Franky was the way he was before the time skip. If there's one straw hat that I'm just not that fond of, and a lot of people feel this way as well, it's Franky's new design and the time skip and just the comedy that they kind of push so hard with him. Is like, he was funny before the time skip, but he had a really cool vibe to him and a really serious thing, and now it's just, everything is just, oh, I'm super with my hair, and oh, it was an afro, now it's a cannon, and oh yeah, I'm like, some of it is just over the top, too over the top with Franky, and it's like, can we get that cool motherfucker that like used to just walk around in his underwear and a fucking Hawaiian shirt not giving a fuck? I miss that dude. And we had Vice Admiral Bastille show up, so it was like, okay, kind of adding a little extra element to it, but for the most part, this fight, just comedy. I guess one of the biggest pieces of progression that we got, though, was Cavendish being turned into a toy, learning a little bit more about this little girl, Sugar, so to speak, so it's like, okay, we're finding out a little bit more about that, and the Tontata scenes, while it wasn't really entertaining, it's starting to set up with them as well, that they're going to try to feed her this grape or whatever to fuck her up. So we got a little bit of progression in the end of this episode. The beginning of this episode was kind of pretty kick-ass with Luffy and Pica, but in between, I think the Franky and Senor Pink stuff is like they're reusing jokes, and in all honesty, it's just getting tiring. It's like, I want to see some serious things, and yeah, this episode was like, it was an average episode. I wouldn't say it's a bad episode, but it wasn't great either. So I'm going to give this one 5 out of 10. Art and animation. Sometimes it looked alright. Like the Franky scenes actually, the least interesting ones in my opinion anyway. The Franky stuff was the best animated. The stuff with Luffy looked alright as well. Although when he was running on the stairs, I don't know what the fuck was up with his design. But for the most part, that looked okay. And yeah, it was, art and animation was alright. But I can't lie to you, when Franky said that line, I was super bored. I was like, he's reading my mind right now. Hopefully next week we get more of that Pica versus Luffy or Sabo going in against Diamante. Let's get some of that serious bits and progression with the Doflamingo stuff. More of that, less of Franky and Senor Pink, because while they're both cool in their own weird ways, Franky a little bit less than he used to be. Senor Pink is like, they're reusing stuff, and it's like, he's manly, I get it. Let's, you know, something different. Let me know what you thought of the episode, though. Overall thoughts of everything that went down, progression. What did you think about the Senor Pink and Franky stuff? Did you still find it funny, even though they were reusing things? And what do you think about that Luffy versus Pica fight? Again, I want more of that. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.